In terms of, we're talking now about addressability. How can you maximize the addressability of your data?
Well, one of the ways that we can maximize the addressability of our data is actually sharing our data with a marketer. So if we go back and look, because we have the largest database of historical weather, we can compare historical weather to historical sales first, before we launch any campaigns. And we can start seeing where those trends are. What weather patterns made what impact on sales? And then, of course, we could take those predictions and distribute their advertising smartly, intelligently, when various weather phenomena occur. And that really, to me, is one of the ultimate uses of the data that we have, because again, weather affects all of us every day, so it's one of those things that we just kind of forget about. But at the same time, it's something that advertisers can use to really focus in their ad campaigns and to make sure that their messages are distributed at the penultimate time, at the precisely the right time. Get that message out there that we know people have already responded to positively by purchasing your products in a given weather event. Let's make sure that there's saturation when we see that weather event either forecasted or currently occurring.
So you track weather events to certain purchases. Have there been any surprises in purchases? Have you ever looked at the data to say, I didn't realize people purchased that during that particular weather?
Well, that's not something that we can really publicly talk about, because a lot of people keep their data private, and obviously we're in very competitive times, so retailers don't like to share that information publicly. I can tell you this, that one of the largest big box retailers who's done a lot of work looking at weather and looking at sales has noticed that whenever there's a hurricane that is forecasted coming through, they see a huge spike in Pop-Tarts. And so, of course, we conjecture, why is there a spike in Pop-Tarts? Well, Pop-Tarts have great shelf life, they stay around forever, and it keeps the kids happy. So in hurricanes, when electronics go down, people can't play on their computers, can't play their video games or whatever, feed them sugar, feed them Pop-Tarts.
How granular do you get as far as your ability to push out certain messages? Do you get to the block level? Can you get to households?
Currently, with any amount of precision, the best level to get down to is actually zip code. So for most online publishers, getting down to zip code level is fairly difficult, but because we're a weather site, and this is true basically of all the weather sites, a lot of people put in their zip codes to find out their local forecasts. So because of this, we can cross-reference GeoIP lookup with the zip code that people actually shared with us, so we know if they gave us their home or business zip code, their current location zip code, versus did they put a zip code in that they're looking at whether if they're traveling to certain destinations. So in this case, I live in San Francisco, I'm traveling to New York, so we realize that, okay, this person is in San Francisco, but they're actually looking at New York content.
Richard, can you give me 3 predictions for the next 5 years?
Absolutely. Let's start with the research front. On the research front, I believe that we'll start to see a lot more data come out that's based on observation and not based on recall. I think that even Nielsen in television land is starting to wake up to the fact that paper diaries just aren't going to cut it in a multi-channel world where there's over 100 different TV stations that are available. So research will be looking at more observed data. What are people's actual behaviors versus recall? What do people remember that they did? And what this is going to do is this is just going to open up the opportunity for smaller publishers, either in the online space or, quite frankly, smaller TV networks, to potentially garner more advertising dollars. So what does this naturally lead to? This leads naturally to my number 2 prediction. We will continue to see the erosion of media spend going away from newspapers and going away from traditional media and into the digital space. We are probably going to see, obviously, more newspapers local newspapers shutter their doors, and we'll also start to see some local broadcasters also go out of business. My third prediction for the next 5 years is wonderground.com is going to become the #1 weather destination for people around the world, whether it's to our website, to our mobile properties, or to whatever else is out there that we haven't thought of yet, but we will think of it. Wonderground.com is going to be #1.
Well, that sounds like a good ending.
Fantastic.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.